I caught my fiancée cheating on Instagram Live, so I saved the video and shared it with her family and friends. I, 29, male. It was during one of those casual nights out, maybe a little over a year ago, that I met the woman I thought I'd marry. I proposed after 8 months of dating, convinced I'd found the person who'd stand beside me for the rest of my life. I thought things were falling into place. But everything changed 3 days ago. And I can't seem to erase the memory of what I saw. It all started on a Friday night. My fiancé's best friend, someone who I never quite clicked with, but tolerated, was hosting a birthday party at a nightclub. I was busy with a backlog of work, so I stayed home. My fiancée said she'd go for a few hours, then come back to our apartment. I didn't think much of it. She was always social, and I trusted her. Later that night, while half watching a movie and scrolling through my phone, I stumbled upon her best friend's Instagram Live. Curiosity led me to tap on it. The camera was panning across the dance floor, showing a typical party scene. People dancing, bright lights, drinks in hand. I recognized my fiancé's silhouette in the corner, so I watched for a few seconds. The camera angle shifted, and that's when I caught a glimpse of something I still can't believe. My fiancée, arms draped around some other guy's neck, kissing him like it was the most natural thing in the world. I froze. A million thoughts rushed me all at once. Part of me wanted to think it was just an accidental camera angle, or maybe she was hugging him, but it was undeniably more than that. I scrambled to turn on the screen record function on my phone, capturing every single second of this betrayal. My ears were pounding, my chest felt hollow, and I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that this was the woman I planned to marry in just a couple of months. I stayed quiet on the live, not typing any comments. I just kept recording until the camera moved away. My heart raced, and my emotions were everywhere. Rage, heartbreak, confusion, and a sickening sense of finality. I gathered my essentials, wallet, phone charger, a change of clothes, then sent a text to one of my friends asking if I could crash on his couch for the night. He replied that I'd come over anytime. Without leaving any note behind, I walked out of my own apartment, feeling like the room was suddenly too big and too empty. It was past midnight when I arrived at my friend's place. He took one look at my face and knew something was very wrong. Over a stiff drink, I replayed the video, feeling disgusted with each second. The entire world I'd built with her crumbled in front of my eyes, and I didn't know what I'd do next. The next morning, after a restless few hours of sleep on my friend's couch, I woke up with the same pit in my stomach. The betrayal sat there like a heavy stone. My friend nudged me to eat something, but I couldn't stomach much. All I wanted was to confront my fiancée and let her know she no longer had any place in my life or my apartment. But instead of rushing home, I decided to make the first move, quietly. I took a breath and sent a group text to her parents and a couple of mutual friends. I attached the screen recording. No explanation, just the raw, unedited footage of her partying and kissing some stranger. Then I wrote, "I regret to inform you all that the engagement is off. The wedding is canceled. This is why." It felt ruthless, but I wasn't in the mood to soften the blow. I wanted everyone who had a vested interest in our relationship to see the truth for themselves. My phone buzzed like crazy within minutes. Her father called first, sounding frantic and disbelieving. I was in no mood to answer, so I let it ring. Her mother followed up with several messages, oscillating between confusion and indignation. I couldn't bring myself to respond. Somewhere deep down, I hoped they'd realize their daughter messed up big time. Then came the calls from our mutual friends, some of whom had no idea what was going on. A few expressed shock, a few were supportive, and one or two tried to claim it could be a misunderstanding. I also sent a direct message to my fiancée. "Pack your things and leave my apartment by tonight. The ring is in my bedside drawer. Take it if you want it. I don't care. We're done." My throat felt tight as I typed those words, but I knew there was no turning back. A couple of hours later, I finally mustered the courage to face the barrage of phone calls. Her father was furious at me. He accused me of humiliating his daughter publicly. "You had no right to spread that video around," he thundered through the phone. I fired back. "I had every right to show people why I'm calling off the wedding." He tried to spin it as a lapse in judgment on her part, insisting we could work it out. The audacity made my blood boil. I refused to be guilt-tripped. Then her mother texted me, saying it was just a mistake and that we should attend couples counseling. She even tried to blame her daughter's moment of weakness on the stress of wedding planning, as if that justified locking lips with some random guy in a nightclub. Meanwhile, my phone pinged with messages from that same best friend who hosted the Instagram Live. She apologized, claiming she never intended to broadcast anything incriminating. I doubted her sincerity, but I didn't bother responding. The damage was done, and the truth was out. I waited until late afternoon before going back to my apartment, bracing for whatever showdown might happen. When I stepped inside, I found my fiancée, puffy-eyed from crying, hurling accusations at me. "How could you send that video to my parents? You're humiliating me," she shouted, shoulders shaking. She wore the engagement ring, even though I'd told her to take it if she wanted it. It felt like a twisted piece of defiance, like she still believed she could control the narrative. I stood by the door, not sure whether to scream or laugh at the irony. "You kissed another guy," I said evenly, my voice low. "And you did it on a live video for the entire internet to see. You humiliated yourself." My words landed with a dull thud, but she just got angrier. "You destroyed our wedding? Do you realize how much we invested?" she snapped, her sense of entitlement blazing through. "What about all the deposits we can't get back? The venues, the catering, the dresses? Are you going to pay for all that?" Her tone was dripping with blame, as though I was at fault for exposing her wrongdoing. That's when I lost my cool. "Are you serious? You cheated on me, and now you're demanding I cover the wedding costs?" I took a step closer, glaring. "Get your things and get out. This conversation is over." She dropped onto our couch, sobbing and refusing to move, so I started packing her clothes into a suitcase myself. The entire time, she went on about how stressful the wedding prep had been, how she felt I didn't pay her enough attention, and how that night at the club just happened. The level of denial and manipulation was staggering. When her phone buzzed, she grabbed it and then shoved it in my face. It was her mother, texting again, telling her to calmly reason with me so that I'd change my mind. They both seemed to think that all it would take was a bit of sweet talk or emotional pleas, and I'd roll over, letting her behavior slide. But I was long past that point. I sent a brief text to my own mother, letting her know the wedding was off and that I'd explain later. She wrote back that she was worried about me. That was the only message that cut through my anger and made my chest tighten with a different kind of ache. I knew my parents liked her. I knew our families were getting intertwined, and this news would devastate them. But I also knew I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine. When my fiancée's phone started ringing, she put it on speaker. It was her father's booming voice. "Get him to delete that video. He has no right to ruin your reputation." The demands flew fast and furious, filled with threats about legal action for defamation. I scoffed because the video was actual proof, not some slanderous rumor. I felt zero fear. They had nothing on me. I tossed the last load of her clothes into the suitcase, zipped it forcefully, and carried it to the door. "You're leaving, now," I said. She stayed rooted to the couch, muttering that I was being dramatic. Her sense of entitlement was so thick it practically stained the air. I could see a swirl of panic in her eyes, but she wasn't sorry for the betrayal. She was sorry she got caught. "Fine," she relented, standing up at last, but not without one final trick. "If you don't pay me back for half the wedding expenses, I'll tell everyone you forced me to leave with nowhere to go." She tried to sound threatening, leaning into a victim narrative. "My dad already called a lawyer friend. We'll come after you for the deposits." I snatched my keys off the table, clenched my jaw, and tried to remain calm. "Go for it. I have the receipts for everything I personally paid for, and I'm the one who canceled the wedding because you cheated. You think any court will side with you?" My voice was cold, measured. Inside, my heart was hammering. I hoped I was right about the legalities, but given the evidence, her broadcasted infidelity, I felt confident I had the moral and legal high ground. I had no illusions that it would be simple, but I refused to be blackmailed. "You think an American court would force me to pay for a wedding you sabotaged? Good luck." She stormed out, tears streaking her face, but she left the ring on my coffee table. A flash of bitterness crossed her features as though she was discarding something worthless. I felt a strange sense of relief and finality. Once the door slammed behind her, I just stood there, exhaling the breath I'd been holding for what felt like hours. The next few days were chaos. Her father kept calling, leaving threatening voicemails about lawsuits. Her mother pleaded with me to be sensible, claiming that nobody should see that embarrassing clip anymore. They each tried every dirty trick, spreading rumors that I'd been the controlling partner, that I was too busy with work to focus on her, that maybe I was the reason she strayed. I didn't care what they said. I had the raw footage on my phone, and so did countless others. It was undeniable. In a final act of revenge, I compiled a small email to the wedding venue, caterers, and other vendors, informing them the event was canceled due to the bride's infidelity, and that they should direct any future communications to me alone. I attached a snippet of the clip, just a screenshot, nothing more, as proof that I wasn't bailing on the wedding for frivolous reasons. I gave them notice that if her family tried to claim back deposits under false pretenses, they should consult with me first. It was harsh, maybe a little spiteful, but I wanted to make sure her sense of entitlement didn't spiral into more complications for me. Oddly enough, the response from a few vendors was surprisingly sympathetic. One even wrote back, "We're sorry you're going through this. If you need any assistance regarding cancellation fees, let us know." It was a small relief in an otherwise tumultuous week. I canceled everything in my name, removing her from every joint account, every registry, and every plan we'd shared. Eventually, her father's anger subsided when he realized I wasn't bluffing, and no lawyer would take a case that essentially argued I owed them for a wedding that got canceled due to the bride's cheating. The legal threats dried up, and after a brief flurry of desperate texts from her mother, everyone went silent. Maybe they finally understood there was nothing left to salvage. Friends of mine, and some mutual ones, saw the drama unfold on social media. People took sides. Some reached out to confirm the story. Others faded out of my life because they felt it was too messy to handle. But my closest circle stood by me. They told me that, while the decision to share the clip so publicly was bold, they understood my anger. I still stand by it as the right move. She wasn't just betraying me privately, she did it on a live stream. Why should I hide her actions? Now, I can't claim I feel good about any of this, but there's a sense of vindication that I didn't just roll over. Her family tried every manipulative tactic to twist the narrative, from legal threats to emotional blackmail. Yet the truth remained undeniable, caught on camera, saved on my phone. In one final conversation, my ex-fiancée had the audacity to text me, "We both could have handled this better." I stared at the message, almost baffled by the gall in her tone. Maybe we could have handled it differently if she'd only apologized sincerely or shown a shred of remorse. But she was fixated on how I embarrassed her, rather than admitting she wronged me. At the end of the day, I feel relieved. Hurt, sure, but free from someone who clearly didn't value my trust or our future together. And part of me hopes that video lingers in her memory, a reminder that she can't just stomp on people's hearts without consequences. I'm returning the ring to the jeweler next week, cutting all final ties.